done. And by the way, that piece is gone. So
we know that.
Yeah.
I've been by
It's gone.
But thank you all. Moving forward, thank you all for what you do. We'll see you back in a couple months.
Gotcha. Thank
all
you.
right. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. There was someone that wanted to sign up to speak.
That's right.
On this presentation. So, is that Mr.
Cardinale.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Matthew Cardinale with Atlanta Progressive News. And let's see, so it's 1:29, and I'm just concerned because the day that I came with Mr. Beasley, Ms. Shepard, the timer went off early, and when I watched the remarks on YouTube later on, I only got 3.5 minutes that day. So I just want to make sure that there's not going to be an error again today. I did want to speak on the Beltline, and so it's fortuitous that there's a presentation on the Beltline here today. One of the issues that we have covered at Atlanta Progressive News is the Beltline Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which was referenced in the presentation, as well as the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, which was tasked with deciding or recommending how those funds would be spent. The 15% of the bond money, which has been going into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and was supposed to support affordable housing around the Beltline. When I talk with people about the Beltline, it's like if you oppose or criticize the Beltline in this town, it's like you're the devil or something. But I have some very serious concerns as it relates to gentrification, displacement of families who have lived in our city for years or even generations. And the Beltline Affordable Housing Trust Fund was supposed to address this. Well, the devil is actually not me, but the devil is in the details. And the BAHAB held community meetings and gathered input on how to spend this money. And over and over, residents, community members said, we're concerned about gentrification. We don't want to be displaced. We support improvement. We support development, but we don't support not being able to enjoy it ourselves. And what happened was BAHAB came up with their recommendations. One of the most important recommendations, and there's two things I want to talk about. The first is there was supposed to be 15% of all projects receiving subsidy from this fund were supposed to be affordable units when you're talking about your multifamily apartments, defined as 60% AMI, and let me explain what that is, area median income. So if the area median income in Atlanta is $45,000, give or take, 60% of that, we're now kind of in the 30,000 range. Okay, so you have maybe some teachers who can benefit from that, but we're not talking about the people working at Starbucks, the people working at Target, people in our service industries who also need somewhere to live. Originally, 10% of the units were supposed to be targeted for that most needy category, the 30%. I don't know how aware you are of this, but 10%, so in other words, 2/3 of the 15% were supposed to be required for that very needy, extremely low-income category. Recommendations were then made, and the ADA and Beltline, Inc. refused to support those recommendations and came back and said that it would be cost prohibitive to the developers. And then they went into conference calls and subcommittees and back and forth pressure, and BAHAB dropped that requirement. It's no longer a requirement. So when this came before the council and you all approved the recommendations, that had already been taken out. I'm deeply troubled by that. I mean, are we basically saying that we as a city can never support our extremely low-income families? And in the context of the demolition of public housing and the loss of affordable housing units that did represent, we don't need now to be abandoning the ELI households. So I was very concerned about that. The requirement is still 15% at 60 AMI, is your workforce housing, but not the ELI housing. The second piece about the recommendations that were also taken out, there was a section in the report called displacement mitigation recommendations. And I don't remember all of them. There were about 6. There were 4 that I remember. One was property tax abatement for seniors, so that their property taxes would not go up along with the Beltline. That there would be assistance for renters, which is very important. Because not everyone can afford to have a home, so we need assistance for renters. Also described was the need for an inclusionary zoning policy in the city of Atlanta, and the land trusts. As far as I can see, the land trust is the only thing that seems to have any progress. When they talk about, okay, so I'm very concerned about this, and I hope that this will be addressed. Thank you.
Mr. Leary, do you want to respond?
Well, I want to thank Matthew for coming today and sharing those things, because I think in many ways we're actually very much on the same page with the goals that we have here. So a couple of things. What I would really ask of the committee first is that if we could come back and provide an update next time specifically on all the affordable housing components that we've done, because there's so many details and so many different categories. One, I'm not up to speed and an expert to talk about every single one of them, but I don't think they're all being caught in what either Matt just talked about, what I would talk about now. A couple other things. The displacement issue is a huge thing for us, and one of the things everyone needs to realize is that the 15% net proceeds that move over to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund can only be spent in the tax allocation district. And within the tax allocation district, very deliberately, single-family homes were avoided in most cases. At most, we maybe have 200 single-family homes in the 6,500 acres of the Atlanta Beltline tax allocation district. So what you're really looking at is multifamily units from a displacement standpoint, less of an issue than some of the more single-family side. So that's why the Community Land Trust is standing up to deal with displacement outside of the TAD where we don't have as many tools. But the other thing, too, is that we'd love to see that those dollars get put to use sooner than later. As you can imagine, in the worst real estate market in 80 years, there aren't many developers building this. But if we could ask the opportunity to come back and highlight all the specific things, too, that Matthew raised, and also thank you, Matthew, for coming today. This is a big deal. This is the one thing, hopefully, that you saw in the presentation, that at the end of the day, no matter what we've built out of concrete or steel, this is really what keeping a community in a city of neighborhoods is all about. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.